All right. Welcome to the Business of Allied Health, supported by CliniScribe. We have a very special guest today. I think it's doctor now, isn't it? Dr. Randall Cooper, given that he's a titled specialist sports physio, but I don't think he practices anymore. He's had a very varied career from, I think, the Winter Olympics, from what I've seen, to Hawthorn Football Club, to Premax and Learn.physio. So he's been involved in tech, physical products, doing clinical stuff, and he never, I think, from what we last spoke about offline, he's never started a practice, and probably for some good reasons. So yeah, welcome, Randall.
Barry, thanks for having me on. I'm delighted to talk about this, and it's been a varied career for me. I think that variation is actually giving me longevity in the profession, and I suppose I'm now at the stage where, as much as I'm building business, I'm trying to give back to the profession and make the profession a little bit better. So when I get the opportunity to come and speak to guys like you about what's happening and where we're all heading, I'm delighted to do so.
I love it. So, yeah, tell us about your story. I mean, I don't think many people have heard how far it goes back. I mean, going to go back to your childhood, why did you choose physio in the first place? Were you another one of those med rejects who did the Asian 5 subjects in Victoria, or was it a different story there?
No, not my story was that I had no idea what I wanted to do for most of my younger life. I got to 16 and then I had a couple of bad medical episodes. I actually did my ACL skiing, and back in those days, that was 3 months in a plaster cast and it was open procedure. It was a big deal. And then 3 months later, I acquired Guillain-Barré syndrome and spent nearly 6 months in the Austin Hospital in Melbourne as well. And so I was dual rehabbing. I was rehabbing from an ACL, and then I was also rehabbing from a neurological condition as well. And it took me 12 to 18 months to get back to where I wanted to be. But it exposed me to medicine and health, and it was a penny drop moment. I was very inspired by all the health professionals that I came in contact, all the way from the doctors, surgeons, all the way down to kind of the sports scientists and exercise physiologists, and even the aerobics instructors. Like, I just thought how they help people and the impact that they could have on lives was profound. And I thought I wanted to do that. So I actually it was probably about 4 or 5 months off year 11 here in doing VCE in Melbourne. The school encouraged me to repeat the year, but I said no, and I kind of studied hard over the summer break and made it through year 12. And then physio was my number 1 and 2 choice. I didn't want to do medicine at that stage. I really wanted to kind of have my hands on people and particularly work in sport and exercise. So I thought physio was the best career, and I haven't looked back.
Wow. So were you a recreational skier or competitive skier?
No, so it's just, I was kind of like, I was bad but keen. So I skied on this ski school team. Like my parents used to take me up occasionally, not enough, according to me. So it was really after my ACL and once I started doing some money. Skiing's not cheap. I went and started doing a lot more of it, and now I call myself a very solid, proficient skier. But I didn't do that in my younger years.
Oh, very interesting. So yeah, my son's in the snow sports team, and I'm not sure about that Mount Buller squad. Just sounds like too much dedication for what. But anyway,
yeah.
So you did physio, and then where did you do physio? Was it?
Well, actually, I'm old enough that it was Lincoln back in the day.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
Right,
I got entry into Lincoln over the time that we're at uni. It changed to La Trobe, so my degree is from La Trobe. Whilst I was in uni, I did the sports trainer thing, and I enjoyed that, and that opened up some doors for me. And then when I graduated, I actually split 3 ways actually in the first 12 years, in the first 1 or 2 years. I got a job at a private practice, and I was seeing patients in Brighton down in Melbourne. I was doing that in the evenings on Saturday mornings and working with a football team. I got a job in the public healthcare system in a rehabilitation hospital. And then also after about 6 or 12 months, Professor Meg Morris approached me, who was actually working in a dual role between that health service and also the university, and said, would you like to do some research with me? And that was on gait disorders in Huntington's disease. And I said, yes. I was one of those guys who just said yes to anything. So I was doing the 3. I was doing 4, really. I was doing clinical work in a hospital. I was doing research work with Meg. I was working in the private practice, and I was also working with sports teams as well. So I was one of those guys who were doing like 80-hour weeks when I was 23 and 24. And clearly that set my career up in a lot of ways, because I had my finger in a lot of pies. So yeah, after that, that was the launching pad for me to kind of have the career that I had.
Yeah. What drove you to do that? I mean, a lot of kind of new grads are like partying and trying to get a full-time job just to overcompensate for some of the hard work they did in high school, and uni to get to where they are. What drove you to work 80 hours a week when you first got out as a physio?
Yeah, it's a hard question. I don't know if I've actually thought about why I worked so hard when I was so young.
Yep.
Part of that, I'm sure, comes from my parents. My parents had a motor repair workshop, and so my dad was a mechanic, and it was actually a very successful business. And they worked hard, and I saw that every day. So I think that my work ethic kind of came a little bit from that. And I suppose overlaying that is that I was just ambitious as well. I just wanted to achieve a lot in my career. I always tell the story of, I think I was only about a year out, maybe 9 to 12 months out, and this is probably a good lesson for the younger physios who are listening as well, is that I was desperate just to do all the sports physio courses. So I did level 1 APA sports physio course literally the day I graduated. And then I got entry into what was then a 5-day program up at the New South Wales Institute of Sport for level 2 sports physiotherapy. And I went there, I was really excited. It was one of my first trips as a professional on a plane going up to Sydney. And it's like, I'm going to enjoy this so much. And I hated every second of it. And the reason I did was that I just realised I was out of my depth. It's like I haven't got, everyone was talking about the 10 cases of, their Achilles tendinopathy that they've managed, or, bizarre kind of knee injuries and back pain and sports that they worked in. It's like, I've seen none of these. So it's like, this is all just theoretical to me. So it's actually a really good thing, because at that stage, I think I realised that I just got to see as many patients as I can. I just got to get experience, like I'm qualified, or progress and do some other things. And I went on to do master's degree and other things as well. But I think that the more hours I spent treating, the more experience I got and the better I became as a clinician. So again, that was probably step 2 in my career, where I kind of got the experience under my belt, as well as having all the jobs that I did as well.
And were these paid jobs, unpaid, or how did you get your door open to some of the elite sports work you've got?
Some of them were. I mean, one of the football teams that I worked for back, when I was young, I got paid for that. But one thing that I really loved, and this stemmed out of my love of skiing and also like my ACL, was that I wanted to be involved in winter sport. So I think it was the second year that I was out, I went and applied for a job up at Mount Buller. So this is coming full circle for you, Barry.
Oh, God.
And I treated a lot of the race club and the team Buller. I was their physio for years and years. So I think I missed out the first year. They just said, you're too young. And then the second year, they said, there's a job coming up. Would you like to go for it? And it's like, yeah, I'd love to go for it. And I got the job. So I did 3 or 4 months up at Mount Buller. I did that 3 seasons in a row.
Oh, wow.
And after the first season, when I came back, the lady who was running the practice, the chief physio at that stage, had moved on. So I took the role of being the lead clinician at the age of 24 or 25 or something like that.
Wow.
And then that's where the opportunities kind of came for traveling with the teams. So I got invited to do some of the local national circuit with Team Buller and a few other teams like that. And then it was probably after about 2 years or 3 years of that, there was some openings up to become part of the national program, the Olympic Institute of Australia. And I got invited to do a couple of trips, and I must have done something right, because they invited me back to keep joining the team. And that led on for me to work with the team for nearly a decade and go to Olympic Games as part of that as well.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Amazing story. I mean, the only thing we spoke about was how can I get myself up there to do a tax deduction? That's as far as we got with that conversation in terms of my winter Olympic skiing physio type of work. But yeah, so after that, you worked at the Hawthorn Football Club first, didn't you? Before
I started
the other way around.
Yeah,
okay,
I started right. In skiing was my main sport. There was few other sports I work with as well, but skiing was my main sport. And then the opportunity came up at Hawthorn as well with a good professional friend of mine, Andrew Lambert. And we got that job together as the 2 physios. We called ourselves equal co-head physios. We just split the role 50-50. We started that in 2004. Andrew's still there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're listening to this podcast reasonably recently after we recorded, he was the guy who did his both hamstring tendons on Friday or Thursday night footy or Thursday. That got heaps of media attention. He became an internet meme. So this is famous as he's ever been. Not because he's a great physio, but because he did both hammies out on the MCG.
That's not a good sign, is it?
Not for him. He's not very happy about it, but he knows what he's doing. He's actually done a hamstring practical for us on Learn.physio. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just going back to that, For younger physios, how do they get involved? Like, do they start networking early, or how did you build your reputation to get these networks? Was it playing golf with them? Was it having beers with them? Or well, what opened those doors for those who may not have any networks?
There's two things to it. The first is you do have to know the right people. And for me, like I did network. I made sure that I approached and spoke to and registered my interest with people in those sports, people in key positions in sports medicine who could open up those doors for me. That's part of it. But the second part of it is that you've got to be clinically competent too. And you do get found out really fast. And I saw this with other practitioners that were good networkers who made themselves into teams and whatever, but they only lasted 6 months because the athletes would just kind of give the officials the feedback. It's like, this guy's no good, or this lady's no good.
Oh, wow.
And,
that's a great point.
you just see them move on. They just don't get invited back to do more teams or the next season, more tours or the next season, etc. So you've got to have both. You've got to understand the sport. You've got to be good at what you do. You've got to have confidence to ensure that confidence in athletes. You've got to know the right people to get the right doors opened as well.
Right. I see. So then you did that. Did you ever consider starting your own practice? I'm sure that's come across your mind in some form.
I did. I going back to the start, like when I started physio, it's like I want to be a sport and exercise physio. That's what I want to be. I'd love to be part of elite teams, and I was on my list, and Olympics was on my list. And I achieved those goals, and I achieved them reasonably early in my career.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. And I was satisfied in a lot of ways because it's like, I'm living what I wanted to do. But there was something just itching away at me underneath. It's like I do feel like I've got a slight entrepreneurial kind of bent to me as well. And I would like to do something. And this is probably about the time that we started having a family, my wife and I. And I think in so many practitioners I talk to now who have a very similar experience. And when you kind of get to that age, let's say it's roughly around about 30s, it's like, I'm financially responsible now. I've got a family, I might have a mortgage or rent, and will me just doing my clinical work with teams or work in the clinic cut it for where I want to be in 10 years or 15 years, 20 years? And if the answer is no, then you've got to make some changes. So for me, I didn't want to pack up like all the work that I was doing with sports teams. I was also working at the Olympic Park Sports Medicine Centre, and I enjoyed my work there. I had a great patient list. It was very fulfilling. But it's like, maybe I'll just start something on the side. And that's where Premax, the idea of the business kind of came along. I just felt that there was a pain point for a lot of therapists and also patients and athletes. The creams and the rubs and the lotions that were out those days were poor. They just felt greasy. They weren't a nice experience. I got a lot of complaints about it. It's like the athletes would tell me that I've just got to go and shower now before I go and train. It's like, surely there's got to be something better than this. And when I started Premax, it was really just supposed to be a sideline business. It was just supposed to be on the side. Maybe if it earned us $20,000, $30,000 a year or something like that, that would be a great result. That would supplement me being a clinician, and I could achieve financially what I wanted to and make a difference to the profession as well. But as probably you can tell, and maybe some of the people who use the products can tell, it's a bit bigger than that now. So it's been a wild ride and an amazing journey, and I'm not very grateful for having been on it too.
No, I mean, I was using that almost 20 years ago or something. I never, you know what I'm saying? When it was really small. Now I'm seeing it in different places that I didn't used to see it. So that's fantastic. Just hearing it from a fellow physio who did something out of the comfort zone is awesome. But it looks like, you're solving a real problem at the time. It wasn't just, I'm just going to make this different to other products in the market, because it's quite a competitive market, isn't it? Like, you're dealing with a lot of substitute products too there.
Yeah. And I was working with the ski team at that stage as well. And I was traveling overseas quite often with them, and sometimes you just have to source like your tape and your massage cream and all those things from international suppliers. You just couldn't bring it all from Australia. And I just had the same experiences. I just thought everything over there, and even in like Europe, for instance, where you think that's the home of skincare, like, it's rubbish. It's like, surely something better than this. So yeah, that I did it. And the interesting thing was that again, when I look back, it's like, Randall, you should have pushed it harder earlier. Like, if you wanted that business really to succeed to the level it really could, I probably waited a little bit long. And the writing was on the wall, because we were sending orders off to Premier League teams and NBA teams over in the States, and I just accepted it as just part of, oh, well, we've got a nice product, and it's nice that they're happy to pay the expensive shipping and whatever. And it was only about 8 or 9 years ago that it's like, I've got a real opportunity here with the business. As I mentioned earlier, I'd achieved a lot of what I wanted to achieve as a clinician. So for me, it was just then, now it's time to shift gear and just put my energy into something a little bit different and build this business up. And we had a massage cream range at that stage with 4 or 5 different massage products, but the feedback that we got often was from the end user, which was the patient or the athlete. And they would say, we really like getting treated with Premax cream, but why don't you just do something for us? Like, we can't find a sunscreen that doesn't sting our eyes, or, the chafing stuff that we use just doesn't work, after 30 kilometers into a marathon. Can you do something better? We really like the way that your products feel on our skin too. So can you make sure it feels like that? So it's like, okay, let's put together some athlete products and we'll give it a go. And that's where the brand now has expanded to, basically, if anyone who's healthy and active thinks about rubbing something on their skin for that activity, it's like, we want to do that. So we're progressing that direction.
Great. And what was the moment where you took the leap of faith, where you're like, hey, this is no longer a side business? There must have been a trigger or pain point or some kind of story behind that point.
There is a story, and the story is that I think it was 2016 or 2017, and Peter Bruckner, many people would know of Peter, a very well-known sports and exercise physician, and he's been a big kind of influence and mentor in my career. And he had just done a stint over in the UK with Liverpool. He'd been the head of sports medicine, sports science over there for 2 or 3 years. He came home and we sat down and had coffee together. And I was telling him a very similar story to what I'm telling you, and that is that that's going pretty good. Like we're sending orders off here and there, and it's grown by this %, and the athletes want some products and whatever. And he just said, listen, if you want an investor, I'd invest in your business. And it's like, oh, okay. He floored me. I didn't expect it at all. And I'd never even opened my mind to thinking about investment. I had no idea what it was all about. Anyway, so I went through the process, and it's like, yeah, not only, would Peter put in some cash, but, he's a very clearly an influential figure in sports medicine around the world as well. So I'm sure that he can help me open up some doors. And he did. And he invested. He's a shareholder in the business these days. He did open up some doors around the world. He's been very supportive along the journey as well. So that was the moment where I went it from being a hobby, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to be an entrepreneur and build this business and make it a real business.
Fantastic. And then Learn.physio came later on. I know there's a backstory to that where I knew the guy who built the first iteration of that.
You did?
Ben.
Yeah.
Ben Strachan.
Yes.
And he gave it to you for free, apparently. And I was sitting there going, you're giving to Randall for free at the time. So did you want to quickly share that story?
Yeah,
so
sure.
You ended up, yeah.
Well, Mick Hughes and I, we both had a special interest in knee injuries, ACL injuries in particular, obviously for me. And then we did this guide called the Melbourne ACL Guide, and we made it into a PDF, and it was very well read, very well used in Australia and also internationally as well. And we got asked to do a lot of talks. Mick had a young family, had young kids at that stage. I was obviously building Premax up, and we said we just can't do the talking circuit. So why don't we? And this is again just my brain kind of doing its thing. Like, why don't we just film a masterclass and we'll put it up online? And we did that. So we filmed it in at the Victoria Institute of Sport because I had a relationship in there. We put a couch in the gym. And we got a 3-camera setup, and we filmed the masterclass, and we put it on Ben's site, Learn.physio, and it went great. And it's like, okay, that's really cool. I could sit there and whatever. And then it was probably only a month later that Ben rang me up and said, hey, Randall, do you want Learn.physio? It's like, what do you mean? Like, no, thanks. Like, I'm busy enough. He goes, no, I've got other things I want to do. You and Mick would do a much better job than me. I'll just give it to you for free. You're just going to have to take over the domain, and then it's yours. It's like, you kidding me? He goes, no, I'm just going to give it to you if you want it. And I spoke to Mick, and it's like, we may as well just, bit of a pain, but let's just do it. And then we put another class or two up there with some close colleagues, and then COVID came along, and it was just a rocket ship. It's just we were in the right place at the right time, and we just kept getting more content on there, and things just kept going up from there. And a lot of that was to do with Mick and his social media presence. But we also made sure that the the quality of the content we put on there was class leading as well. So yeah, so that's business number 2.
Oh, wow.
And that started as an accident / side project, and it's a bit bigger than that also. Yeah.
Can't even really focus on that, can you? Like, you can't go, I want to start a business. It's almost, in your case, it just happened serendipitously.
Everything that this is not uncommon for a lot of entrepreneurs is I think there's 2 groups of entrepreneurs basically. There's a group of people who is like, I just want to get into business. I couldn't care what I'm selling. I could be in garbage, I could be in tech, I can be in health or whatever. If I see a business opportunity, I'm going to go for it because I want to make money. Then there's other people, which I put myself in this camp, is like they just look at a problem and go like, well, I may as well fix it. And that was it for Premax. And then when it came along to Learn.physio, we had a problem. We needed to put stuff up online and make life easier for us. And that was the fix. And the businesses kind of grew from those pain points in the market. Yeah, it's not a bad lesson, I think, for people who think about starting something new.
And there's also COVID that probably accelerated that very quickly during that period too, COVID.
Yeah, it did. And like I said, we're in the right spot at the right time. And it wasn't only COVID. The young practitioners these days have been brought up on screens. They're used to learning online, particularly once COVID had come and gone, most people have become very comfortable with learning part of what they need to do, whether it's at an undergraduate level or postgraduate level. They understand that e-learning is part of it now. So we're just happy to occupy that space.
Fantastic. Anyway, last question. What is a lesson you'd love to share to others that you haven't seen on social media before? It might be unpopular, but it is a dead truth that people probably should know, that kind of supersedes everything that's not so obvious about what you've learned so far in your journey of being a physio, being a specialist physio, working for elite teams, running 2 very successful businesses as a result of that.
Yeah, one of my points would be put yourself in front of others to be scrutinized. So that was a really rewarding but confronting thing for me in my clinical practice. When you go and work for a sports teams, when you go through a specialist program, basically you just have to treat in front of other physios who are more experienced and better than you. And it's really hard to start with, but it makes you so much better. And it's not only will it challenge you on your clinical decision making and what you do therapeutically. Once you start to feel like you're getting it, it also makes you become very confident, and then that relays over to how you'll treat your patients, your staff, and everyone else kind of in your life as well. If you've got that inner confidence that what you're doing is effective for the patient, but you also feel like you're kind of doing a good job by the profession as well, it's very empowering. And I don't think that can be underestimated, because as you probably know, and a lot of listeners know, is burnout is quite a big thing in our profession, and people also reach a financial ceiling and feel stuck in our profession as well. And I can understand it. If I just didn't have the pathway that I did, and I was stuck in a small consulting room in a small rehab gym for 10 years, not really pushing myself, just doing the same thing day in, day out, I don't think I would have had the stimulation to kind of want to stay in the game as well. So that would be the atypical kind of piece of advice, is get yourself out of your comfort zone and go and get scrutinized by others to make yourself a better clinician and a better person and professional.
Love it. And how would they learn more about Learn.physio and Premax?
Well, obviously just the websites. Yeah. So the Premax is premax.co, just CO. We're just about to actually I write them, and is a huge series on the science of skin in sport. So clearly I want to sell the products, but I also want to educate people about the importance of skin and how that, as therapists, we've got our hands on people all day. So even if you just want to kind of come along for the journey and just listen to kind of like how skin behaves in health, and particularly in our profession and sport, then join along for that. Learn.physio is, as the name suggests, the website is Learn.physio. We have just launched a brand new website. I was telling you about some of the headaches we've had in doing that, but it looks like we're over the worst of it now. And we do have a free section. So Mick Hughes is prolific in the way that he produces content. It's all very valuable. We have got free classes on there. We've also got subscription tiers that are very affordable. So yeah, I'd be very happy for people to check out either or both.
And for these practice owners, is it a tool that supplements the CPD programs at their clinics, you find, or
yeah, it's a great question. Resource? We feel it's a component of a clinic CPD program. So we advocate very strongly that people need a multimodal approach, and particularly the young practitioners need hands-on. They need group therapy. They probably, for networking reasons, need to go to conferences and courses live. We think that that's really key. And it's not only us saying this, that the research is really clear on it as well. And that is that e-learning and learning online is powerful and effective when it's done well. And it needs to be kind of like a backbone of anyone's, not only at clinics, but anyone's kind of continuing professional development these days. We feel like we provide that service really well. The new website has made it a lot easier for practice owners to follow along and actually collaborate with their staff and individualize their own learning pathway. So it's not just, this is what we're doing with beer and pizza every Friday afternoon once a month, and I'm just got to do what I say. You can very much kind of structure it toward what every one of your clinicians' interest is. So we think that will make a difference to practice owners as well.
Sounds great. All right. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing all those insights and the lessons there. Yeah. Reach out to those websites if you want to learn more about those products. And good luck with maybe your next venture.
Well, I'll say the same to you, Barry. You're very similar, and you're a clinician, and you're doing some cool things in the business space as well. So it's
totally relate to your story. So yeah, you don't just have to be trapped and stuck in between walls treating patients for the rest of your career.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to have a chat. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.